Folks just joining us here, we're at the top of the hour, 6 o'clock. Want to let them know what they're watching here. We had an HPD motorcycle officer involved in what we think at this point was just a single vehicle accident. He was by himself and crashed. We don't know that for sure, but we do know he was involved in some sort of accident, and he is in that ambulance right now on the way, we believe, to Memorial Hermann to get treatment. And the officers, this happened on the southbound part of the North Freeway, and you have officers blocking off all entrances to the freeway as they get the officer to the hospital.
We don't have any confirmation on the severity of that officer's injuries. Obviously, we're wishing the best for that HPD motorcycle officer. Steph, this is impacting the commute, though, if you're heading into downtown on the North Freeway.
Yes, and we actually do have an update for drivers in that area. So we originally had it listed at North Street, which is where that accident occurred, but they have closed the freeway. It's not that far away, but they did close it at Main Street instead. So it was just a little bit north of where the accident took place, just to halt traffic, and it might be easier to get folks off the freeway. The other problem here is when you have a full freeway closure and then the people who witnessed the accident or are right in the backup, in the immediate backup, and we're already heading in that direction, they're stuck on the freeway. I've seen people stuck on the freeway for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours when we're dealing with crashes like this. Hopefully they will filter out traffic or maybe turn them around in the opposite direction and get them off the freeway safely. But that is not the concern right now. The concern is getting that officer to the hospital safely without any traffic up ahead of them, and then they deal with those drivers after.
All right, Stephanie, thank you. We do want to check in with our David Gonzalez, who is live. We hear from where this crash happened. David, what are you learning there on the ground?
Hey Lisa, right now we just got to the scene literally a few minutes ago, and I'm going to step aside to show you just how active this scene is here off of North Freeway and North Main Street. We're off of the freeway right now, and this is as close as we could get right now because police have the entire southbound I-45 blocked off here at Main Street, trying to deal with this motorcycle accident that was reported early this morning. At the moment, we do not know the exact condition of that officer, but as you can tell, just looking at the scene right now, plenty of response out here to help that fellow officer by HPD. While trying to get to the scene here earlier today, we did see an ambulance stuck in traffic on the feeder road trying to make its way to the scene. Right now, we do not know the exact condition of that officer, but traffic is a nightmare in this area right now. So if you could do anything to avoid the area, please do so, because right now the main priority for HPD is, of course, the condition of this officer that we know of was involved in an accident here on North Freeway near Main Street. We'll, of course, continue to follow this story, but as of right now, we did see an ambulance here in the area that did take off not too long ago. We've been on the scene for about 5 minutes, but the traffic out here, all lanes on the southbound freeway here at North Freeway near Main Street, completely blocked off because of that accident involving an HPD motorcycle officer. The feeder road right behind me also completely backed up, but we'll continue to follow the story and bring you the latest as soon as we get it. Back to you guys.
Thank you, David, very much. As we watch here, the ambulance and those officers pull into Memorial Hermann.
Yes. We don't know, as you were saying, or as David was saying, we don't know if any other motorists were involved in this. But again, this officer being transported to Memorial Hermann in the Med Center following what we think was a solo crash on the southbound side of the North Freeway at Main. They're pulling in here to get him the medical attention he needs. We're waiting on an update on the extent of his injuries or her injuries. We're not sure of the officer's identity at this moment.
Let's bring in Steph right now. Steph, I just assuming that once the ambulance and the officers, made it through, they were opening back up those ramps, not where the accident happened, but on the route to get to Memorial Hermann.
Traditionally, those would be rolling closures, just as the officer has just made their way to the hospital already. But again, at Main Street, where they have all lanes blocked, that could be shut down for quite some time. We have no indication at this point from law enforcement on scene as to even opening one lane, but hopefully they will be doing so. But again, all lanes still blocked there and traffic backed up now north of the North Loop.
Gosh, you hate to hear of anyone being involved in any kind of wreck. Obviously, when you understand it's someone who was on a motorcycle, immediately, you think the worst, because those injuries are likely to be more severe.
Just not a lot of protection.
Exactly.
If you go down, especially on the freeway at any kind of speed, that's just horrible. And we hope that officer is going to be okay. We just don't know at this point as they get that officer to the hospital. They're just now, as you saw, arriving and and getting him or her, I'm assuming, I shouldn't say him, it could be a female as well, into the emergency room there to begin treatment. And you see there on the other side of your screen, you can see this is the accident scene, and that was the pickup I was talking about. I think that is beyond where the officer was loaded into the ambulance. It's off to the left side there with the flashing lights on. Don't know if that's somebody who just saw what happened or was involved in some way. As they zoom in here, trying to see if there's, I don't see anybody in the vehicle in that pickup, but this will be just beyond where it looks like the accident occurred.
And it's speculation at this point. What our assignment desk is being told is that it was just the officer. And as I mentioned before, especially on dry roads, you never know what could have happened. Just a piece of debris in the dark that you didn't see. Those motorcycles go flying, no matter how much practice you have on a vehicle like that. But hopefully the truck that's pulled over just witnessed the crash and is there to help and not involved in that accident. But as you're looking again, southbound lanes of the North Freeway shut down at Main Street. And once again, traffic not even moving coming out of Acres Home. So if you are leaving the house shortly, coming out of the Woodlands, even Conroe, Spring, plan on taking your frontage road and making plans that way, or the Hardy Toll Road at this point into downtown.
I'm just going to say, because we don't know how long this closure is going to last. So folks may be leaving the Woodlands right now, having to come into downtown. We don't know if that's going to impact their commute this morning. Yeah,
I would say even if they opened it right now, it's already impacted their commute probably in a big way, right? Just because of the backup that's already occurred.
Okay, and let's take a look at our maps here as I can show you, and I'm going to maneuver around. So once again, they just got off at McGregor heading to the Med Center. They are there. So anybody watching that usually takes any entrance ramps, maybe going into the Pierce elevated, things like that, those will most likely open at any minute if they haven't already. But as I zoom out here, take a look at the red and yellow patches. Now we are backed up to the Beltway. This is new. So we were already slow when this accident happened about 30 minutes ago in Acres Homes, and now Greens Point Mall right there, that southbound commute is just awful. So as we take a look at that 40-mile stretch out of Conroe, heading southbound through the Woodlands, through Spring, you can see how open the Hardy Toll Road is. Definitely pay this morning. It's going to be worth it. You are going to be very, very late because, again, we have not been told that they have any indication of opening even one lane there at Main Street on that southbound side.
You mentioned the debris in the road. That is so scary at night. We all drive into work in the middle of the night, and when you see something in a regular vehicle that pops up in the road at the last second, it scares the heck out of me. I can't imagine being on a motorcycle, if that's what happened here, and seeing something in the road and trying to avoid it at the last second. You could see how something like that could happen.
And in drivers' defense who are in cars, just regular cars, trucks, SUVs, sometimes they simply don't see motorcycles and they're just changing lanes, and officers and motorcycle riders are allowed to split lanes sometimes, and it could just be in a blind spot, and perhaps this officer was cut off. I hope not by that truck, but you never know. You don't not know what we're dealing with. I've seen a little piece of scrap metal. I've seen someone doing traffic over the years. An officer, another law officer in Southern California, had just hit a barrel of hay and wrecked. That just was blowing around on the freeway, some debris like that. And they're just vehicles that are harder to control.
Moving at those fast speeds, the slightest thing can cause a crash. You can see police officers there on our ground shot here. We also have Air 11 up, but the ground shot, you see them looking closely at the ground. They're going to keep this shut for, I would guess, some time to collect all the evidence they need as they investigate exactly what happened in this crash. Yeah, and unfortunately that at least suggests that it's a serious wreck. It's a serious injury, just because they're spending so much time on the investigation part of what they're doing. If it was something minor, they probably would not have to do that as much.
And I don't want to draw assumptions here, but again, looking at the nature of motorcycle accidents like this, it did take a while for them to load that officer in the ambulance, maybe just for the sensitivity of the issue, but perhaps they saw something on scene that we're not knowing about yet. And I also want to say that TransStar, when we look at our cameras, they did not zoom in to the crash. They were focusing on the backup, so that is also a possible indication that you know, they've been asked not to zoom in on something. You never know with situations like this.
And you saw as Air 11 panned out in a shot a few seconds ago, there are wreckers on scene. I don't know if this pickup truck with its hazards on is no longer drivable, or if something happened with that car. Again, we don't know what exactly caused this HPD motorcycle officer to crash here on that southbound side of the North Freeway.
It looks like the owner of the pickup who's just gotten in there. We don't know what he's going to be doing here, if he's leaving or just maybe moving the vehicle. But we're going to be continuing to follow this on our website right now. We're going to break away here for a second, go to commercial. But if you want to continue watching our feed, both from Air 11 and on the ground, khou.com, and our mobile app is the place to do that. And we'll be right back.